What's going on, y'all? It's Big Facts again, coming at you with another video. So as this title states right here from Vice News, American plans got foiled. This is coming from the statement of the Iranian government. So President of Iran, Hassan Rouhani, has recently celebrated the recent end of the UN arms embargo that dated back to 2007. Now that plan has now expired. And what was that arms embargo? Well, the embargo was that Iran cannot receive arms or sell arms, basically, in the international market. And arms, I'm talking about weaponry. And this is what really has stifled the Iranian government. A lot of their weaponry has been homegrown, meaning they have developed a lot of the weapons that they use and manufactured. So now with the embargo now lifted, countries like China, Russia can now sell arms to the Iranian government. And this is just another blow in the weakness of the foreign policy of the Trump administration. I mean, I'm bringing this up as the election now dwindles and comes to an end. And it seems pretty clear this is why Trump has lost the election in the United States. It shows that for the past 2 weeks or so, or not 2 weeks, but leading up to the election, the Trump administration has tried twice and have failed to convince the UN to extend the embargo. And I think the UN and other nations did not really want to support the United States in extending the embargo because they knew that one of the major things that can end Donald Trump's reign as president of the United States will be his failure in foreign policy. And that is a huge foreign policy blow. I mean, back in 2018, Donald Trump, he withdrew from the Iranian nuclear deal, which stemmed from the President Obama era, which started back in 2015. Now, for all the Trump advocates out there, they have their many reasons as to why they felt it was a bad deal. But overall, it was a good deal. If you look at it, the United States now put the pressure, basically put the spotlight on Iran, like give us a reason to now have to go in. So basically, Iran had to show that they were going to operate in good faith. But with Trump pulling out the United States, that was a lack of tact. He did not use tact at all because that just showed that the United States was the untrustworthy party. And it just gave Iran carte blanche to basically operate their nuclear program anyway. Now that the United States didn't hold up to their end of the deal was basically null and void. They can do whatever they want at that point in time because the United States didn't hold up to their end because they withdrew. And as a result, Iran actually increased their weaponry and nuclear arms in the region. The region became even more unstable. U.S. allies in the region now feared. So Iran has actually gained strength, and now with the embargo lifted, they even gained more strength, which is why, President Rouhani has been able to come out and say statements like this. Let me show you guys. Now, Iran's President Hassan Rouhani has said that U.S. policies are important, not who becomes the U.S. president. This is coming on November 4th, about 2 days ago. He stated this. U.S. policies are more important than who becomes president. And the reason why I say this is important is back on October the 21st, as we just read, Iran's embargo deal was lifted. And now he's coming out and saying statements like this, that the policies are more important, not who becomes president. Remember, just before all the embargo had lifted, Rouhani was an advocate, and his government and his administration was pushing for Joe Biden to win the election because they knew that if Donald Trump won, forget the U.S. policies, if Donald Trump won, they already know what's going to happen. They already know the pressure was going to be increased on them. So this just goes to show that, hey, this whole Trump election came solely not just on the whole COVID issue or how the U.S. economy, but basically on foreign policy. Making sure that Trump leaves office because his tact or his play on foreign policy has been one of the weakest we've seen from U.S. presidents, and is actually one of the black eyes that you can give to his administration was their handling of U.S. foreign policy. The U.S. has actually, with Trump in office, has actually made their foes a lot stronger. Iran has gotten stronger. Russia has gained more influence in the region. China has gotten more stronger. U.S. allies like India are now getting in skirmishes with the Chinese, and India can't even rely on the United States. So in that region, the United States has really lost its grip. It has really lost its prestige in the international community. And this is why I feel like It's time that somebody like Joe Biden steps in, somebody who has actually dealt with foreign policy. And I think this is one of the major things that are going to be of importance in the next 4 years is the United States regaining its status on the world stage in terms of foreign policy. Not necessarily being so much interventionist, but when they speak, having other countries respect and listen. So far, these past 4 years, other countries have not respected or listened to what the United States has had to say. You look back here in this article from Vice, where Mike Pompeo, had basically spoke out against, warning other countries for selling arms to Iran now that the embargo is over. So Mark Pompeo went on to say the United States is prepared to use domestic authorities to sanction any individual or entity that materially contributes to the supply, sale, or transfer of conventional arms to or from Iran. He said, as well as those who provide technical training and financial support and services and other assistance related to these arms. So this basically is doubling down on, this whole Trump doctrine, this whole bully tactic that the United States has now basically has gone to in foreign policy, which is not one that has been shown to be quite fruitful. If anything, it has actually made U.S. to lose support and has actually garnered, the resiliency of their opposition. The foreign minister spokesperson of China even came out and blasted Pompeo by saying, his statements are unjustifiable. The United States is basically acting like they're the, judge, jury, and execution. They can do as they want. They decide all the rules. There's no longer an embargo, so that they're basically treating like these countries like they're not sovereign, like they don't have their own sovereignty. And that's not right. That's not how you operate in geopolitics. That's not how you win, negotiations. You just can't bully your way through. And the Chinese foreign minister spokesperson went on to say, it is the U.S. that peddles arms and ammunitions everywhere, which is true. Uses military trade to serve geopolitical interests, which is true. And even openly interferes in internal affairs of other countries, which is very true. So, the Chinese are now stepping up and blasting, and I'm pretty sure that what sanctions are you going to really add on to China if they now wanted to decide to sell arms on over to Iran? You really can't say much. So we already know that Iran relies, heavily on its own military capabilities, produces 90% of their own defense. All their armaments are all produced at home. Now they're opening, now with the embargo lifted, they are now increasing, their reach and weaponry acquisition. Definitely once they get this whole COVID situation controlled in Iran, because the numbers have spiked in that country and they're economically suffering from it. But once that gets under control, definitely look to them purchasing, military hardware from Russia as well as China, because Russia and China, that's going to be the new triad in that region. They're going to definitely work with each other. And just remember, it was Iran that actually defeated ISIS. Their foot soldiers are the ones that went into that region and wiped out ISIS with the air superiority support from the Russians. So these three countries, China with the economic might, Russia with the military capability, and Iran basically with the youthful population and, the determination, or basically having the foot soldiers to do so, coupled with China, they're looking to definitely be the primary holders of that region, basically to be the new, I don't know what you call it, like the new alliance. They're basically going to be the one to police that Middle East region, the whole Asia Pacific region, possibly in the coming years to come. The whole energy for Europe, gas pipelines coming through the region, they have to pass through Iran. They have to pass through Russia. They have say-so in that. Regions around India-Chinese border, they're definitely going to help support the Chinese in pushing India from claiming that territory. So look for that to come in the next 4 years. This is definitely interesting. It's something that many people have to definitely take the time and look up this type of stuff, because if one does not look into these things and just turns a blind eye, you'll be asking yourself, how is this even possible? How are these things even, able to take place? But it's all there. This information is all there. And it goes to show you that, the Trump administration has been really weak in their handling of foreign policy. That is the major black eye in the Trump administration, is their handling of foreign policy. And I just basically, hold on, I gotta pull up a map here to show you guys, why this stuff is so, so important in the region. If I could find the map. Pull this right here. With China and Russia and Iran, this is basically going to be like, some sort of transnational relationship going on with the three of them, which is quite interesting. But, to take on a country like the United States, it's going to take that level of commitment from both sides. All right. So when we go over to Iran here, boom. We look at all the different pipelines, but the main thing I wanted to show here on the map was just basically here around these bordering lines of China and India. Major skirmishes going all throughout this region. Major skirmishes. And it's important. If you have China here, Iran here, Russia to the north, they basically have cornered a lot of U.S. allies. India, the Philippines, because China would definitely dominate the South China Sea. Japan too as well, Korea. So U.S. foreign policy has really taken a hit, these past 4 years, and it's time for a new change. It's time to, freshen things up in the White House and get the United States back onto its proper footing on the world stage. But I want to hear what y'all have to say. Like, comment, subscribe down below. I'm out.